Okay. Okay, today I'll be covering a very important topic, that is beat generation. So, do you remember questions being asked from this particular topic, or do you know anything about beat generation? You must have at least heard of beat generation, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Uh,
They used to play some instruments with their poetries,
okay.
and John Carver. Uh,
You're right.
I
You're
don't know.
you're right.
Uh,
You're right. So you are at
yeah,
least
And then
familiar. Yes.
orchestra emerged from Beat Generation.
Okay. Very good. Just give me a minute. Someone is trying to join. See, please don't mind these interruptions in the first few minutes of the lecture having started, because the aspirants they are joining. Let's get back. Okay. So today I'll be discussing beat generation in detail, so that if you get a question in your exam from this particular topic, you can answer the question, or you can arrive at the right option. So let's begin. Let's dive into this topic. First of all, we will look at the origin and various facts related to beat generation. Okay. First of all, let's understand that what is this poetry all about? When did it start? Alright. So see, this poetry started emerging in 1940s. So 1940s is the decade when this poetry started emerging. And where did it emerge? It emerged in New York City. Both these points, both these facts are very important. In case you are asked that beat poetry evolved in the following generation, and four options are given, you will opt for 1940s. Please commit it to your memory and write it down as well. भूल जाएंगे नहीं तो आप. And where did it emerge? It emerged in New York City. So in the initial years, in 1940s, it was centered in New York City and on the west coast. So you will, if you get it in the exam, you will get New York City, so please opt for that. All right. And later, there was some other city which became the center of it. We will learn about that later. All right. Now, what was this poetry all about? See, when you think of beat poetry, think of the spirit of rebellion, right? And this poetry, since by the time this poetry really emerged, the World War II had already ended, right? And there was the environment of disillusionment with everything. So this poetry captured the spirit of disillusionment, break with the tradition, and rebellion, right? And but then in that sense modern poetry was also represented break from this tradition. So how was it different from that? It was different from that also because it went the extra mile in exploring all the taboo topics, because so far you would hardly find any poet writing so openly about homosexuality, drug addiction, and other such things which are considered taboo, which are considered immoral. But beat poets, since they were rebels at heart, since they found the sane way of living, very crazy, so they dived into these so-called taboo topics like homosexuality, drug addiction. So this is what beat poetry was all about, right? So keywords related to this poetry is rebellion, exploration of taboo topics. What are those taboo topics? uh, Homosexuality, violence, drug abuse, and other such phenomenon. Someone is trying to join. I hope this is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's look at what happened to the beat poets and beat generation as the year advances. Right later, later when in 1950s, right, San Francisco became the heart of this movement. So it started in New York in 1940s, initial years of 1940s, and then later it shifted its base to San Francisco. So San Francisco has become synonymous with the beat generation, right? You will still find many streets there which are named after beats poets. So please remember both these cities, New York and San Francisco. Okay, and now let's look at major poets associated with this revolutionary movement in the history of America. You will be required to memorize all these poets, names of all these poets. Okay, so you are required to memorize names of all these poets. Let me first read out their names. I'm going a little slow so that they get lodged in your memory. First is Allen Ginsberg, and you know that he is considered synonymous with beat poets and beat poetry. Then we have Diane de Prima, and I have also mentioned something very important which she said. She said the only war is war against imagination, because any attack on imagination, she considered that on the footing of the war. So please do remember these lines said by her. They may be asked in the exam, you never know. That is why I made it a point to add it here, right? Then we have Neil Cassidy, then we have Waldman, we have Michael Mackler, and we have William Burroughs and Jack Kerouac, as Shalinji mentioned. Gary Snyder, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and Gregory Corso. All these poets, they were associated with Beat generation. In net, it has been asked once in UGC net. I would request everyone to join within the 5 minutes of the class having started, so that there are no interruptions, because that break the entire flow of the session. Okay. So I hope this PPT will be shared with you. Once you get the PPT, please write down names of all these poets in your register, and please keep revising, so that within a week you will be able to recall all the names. Okay, so how many names are there? We have Allen Ginsberg, we have Diane de Prima, we have Neil Cassidy, we have N.A. Waldman, we have Michael Mackler, we have William Burroughs, Jack Kerouac, Gary Snyder, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and Gregory Corso. Right, all these are beat poets. I have also included here 2 or 3 important works of two very important beat poets. Which are those works? These 2 works, Naked Lunch and Junkie, they are written by the great beat poet William Burroughs. One is Naked Lunch and the second one is Junkie. Please write down their names, and please read something about both these works today. I am covering the movement for the time being, and then we will be studying prominent American novelist, dramatist, and poets. But we will not be studying these minor beat poets separately. So whenever I mention their work, please make it a point to write them down and read a little about them. You never know when you get a question from these poets. So Naked Lunch and Junkie, these 2 works are written by William Burroughs. Okay, and then On the Road, it was written by Jack Kerouac. It's a very famous work a movie has also been made. So I think most of you are familiar with this work, On the Road. I want you to, if you have watched the movie, very good. If you haven't, please at least read summary of On the Road. Okay, so you have to do two things today. You have to read about Naked Lunch and Junkie, and you also have to read summary of On the Road. Okay, next is, now what about this term beat generation? See, we have heard it so many times that we don't find anything odd about it, right? But then how was this term coined? Who coined this term? So this term, Kerouac, he is credited with coinage of this term beat generation, and he didn't mean it in a very positive manner. When he called himself and his friends, the other beat poets, when he used this term to refer to himself and the fellow poets, he meant it in a very negative manner, because at that time they were looked down upon, and their works were not published, and in a way they were they were not famous at all. So he used this term to refer to their status of being down and out, being failures, right, being outcast of the society. So this is what this term actually meant, which has become very popular, and we, every time we mention beat generation, we start thinking of poets who were really cool and very chilled out. But when Kerouac coined this term, what he meant is that the poets who no one liked, and who were failure in some sense, because they were not ready to comply with the norms of the society, and the society didn't approve of them. Okay, so now you have understood the origin of the term beat generation, who coined this term, and what it actually meant when it was used by Kerouac. Any question from what I have covered so far?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. Then let's say now these poets, because I told you that they were rebel, and they rebelled against the prevailing norms of the society. So they were also against the mainstream politics and culture, and they questioned the cultural beliefs, the traditional mindset of the masses. So, and they were in a sense, they were also closely intertwined with poets of San Francisco Renaissance movement. And when we talk of San Francisco Renaissance movement, it was not actually a singular movement. It was a group of loosely associated poets who were active in San Francisco at that time. And if we talk about what kind of poetry they were writing poetry which questioned the prevailing norms and the popular culture. But there were some poets which were associated with San Francisco Renaissance movement, which were writing very regular poetry as well. So it won't be right to put them in a box. So just remember that beat poets, they were influenced to some extent by the San Francisco Renaissance movement, because you already know that later San Francisco became the heart of this beat movement. So they were associated with them. And who were some poets who were associated with San Francisco Renaissance movement? Kenneth Rexroth and Robert Duncan. I have included only two names, okay, so that you do not have too many names to commit to memory right now. But at the same time, you should have heard of something called San Francisco Renaissance movement, and how that is related to beat generation. Why are we mentioning them when we are talking about beat generation, right? The next is, now this beat spirit. Shalini mentioned when I started the lecture that beat poets, they use some instruments, right? Because some of the poems they were written as performance pieces as well. Okay, so when they were performed, when these poems were performed, some instruments were also used. Okay, so this beat spirit, which is revolt, which is being carefree, which is touching upon the taboo topics, that is also reflected not only in literature but also in jazz music. Once a question was asked that what kind of music is related to beat poetry or beat spirit. So the answer was jazz music. That is why I have included here. Okay. And the battle against social conformity, they rejected American society of materialistic excesses and conventionalism. So every time I mention rebel, what were they rebelling against? They were rebelling against this societal conformity, that we keep conforming to what has been passed down from generation after generation. They rejected this excessive materialistic spirit of American society, right? And they stood for everything that was swept under the carpet, which was not spoken about. So I hope by this time you have understood what beat poet stood for, because that will create a kind of platform for you to understand their work and appreciate their work. Am I right? Have you understood what beat stood for and facts related to them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I have included another point here which you might find useful. That, see, they appreciated Afro Americans because they felt that they were very comfortable with their body. Mind you, that beat poets, they wrote about sexuality, they wrote about homosexuality, heterosexuality, both. And these things were not approved of, because any work which tried to dive into topics like these, was charged with obscenity, and they got mired into controversy. So, but this, for beat poets, Afro Americans or African Americans, they really approved of them. What they approved of about them is that the ease they enjoy with their body, that that they were very accepting of their body, and the beat poets, they really admired that. See, I have covered all these points because the trend that I have seen in UGC net is they take any movement and then they ask you, and the question is followed by a number of options. It's like, what is not true about beat poets, or what is true about beat movement in American history. So until or unless you are not familiar with a variety of information about beat movement or beat poets, you may not be able to answer such questions. So please prepare such questions when you are self studying, and here in my classes I'll prepare you so that you can tackle such questions. Next is now some more facts about the beats. See, since they were in a way revolting against the conventional society, they were also influenced by they believed in achieving higher state of consciousness, and some of them, they tried meditation, and they read scriptures of Eastern religion. They tried to understand spirituality, but then since they were not guided by they didn't have the right thing to guide them, so they also induced this drug induced high to achieve that state where they were absolutely carefree, where the mind was free of thoughts. Okay, and so these are the things they experimented with, which were not legal in the society. So it's not that they were wrong, they were immoral. It's just that they used some of the tools, they used some of the methods which were considered immoral by society. And the religion that influenced them was Buddhism, right? Many beat poets, they read Buddhist texts. They were interested in Buddhist philosophy, and they felt that the spirituality and such religious text, they could help humans elevate their consciousness. So if you are asked that which religion they were influenced by, you will mention Buddhism, or you will opt for the option which has Buddhism. Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
ये हेलोसिनोजेनिक ड्रग्स,
Hmm.
ये क्या होती है?
देखिए ये एक टर्म होती है जिसको बोलते हैं हेल्यूसिनेशन, ठीक है। जब कोई इंसान हेल्यूसिनेट करता है तो वो रियलिटी से डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाता है, ठीक है। तो कभी कभी क्या होता है कि द रियलिटी ऑफ पीपल इज़ रियली ट्रैजिक, राइट, एंड देन दे स्टार्ट रिलाइंग ऑन दिस ड्रग टू इंड्यूस अ फॉल्स स्टेट ऑफ एग्जिस्टेंस। तो हेल्यूसिनोजेनिक ड्रग्स जो क्या होती हैं वो आपको आपकी रियलिटी से बिल्कुल डिस्कनेक्ट कर देती हैं। तो बीट पोएट्स ने एक्सपेरिमेंट किया हेल्यूसिनोजेनिक ड्रग के साथ में, सो दैट कि उनके माइंड में कोई थॉट नहीं है, ठीक है, और उस स्टेट में दे आर हैप्पी विद व्हाट दे आर क्रिएटिंग, व्हाट दे आर डूइंग, व्हाट दे आर राइटिंग। और बहुत सारे जब उस स्टेट में जो उनको कुछ विजन्स मिलते थे, दे तो यूज्ड टू राइट इट डाउन एंड देन बहुत फ्रैगमेंटेड, अगर आप उनके वर्क भी देखोगे तो बहुत फ्रैगमेंटेड होंगे। तो डोंट गेट स्टक विद दिस टर्म, राइट, जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड दैट that when they were taking drug, what they were actually looking for is escape from the reality which these drugs could induce. Okay.
ओके मैम, ओके
Yes.
थैंक यू।
फिर रिलीजन आप याद रखिएगा, कौन सा रिलीजन ने उनको इन्फ्लुएंस किया? बुद्धिज़्म ने। आप जानते हैं कि गिन्सबर्ग जो हैं वो इंडिया भी आए थे, एंड दैट ही हैव बीन टू मोनेस्ट्री एंड in fact he committed himself to Buddhism later in his life. ओके, तो उसके बाद में मैंने यहाँ पर एक वर्क लिया, लेट मी एडमिट द स्टूडेंट प्लीज, इट्स टू लेट बिकॉज आई एम ऑलरेडी, दिलीप जी यू आर ज्वाइनिंग द सेशन वेरी लेट, कैन यू प्लीज टर्न ऑफ योर वीडियो, कैन यू प्लीज टर्न ऑफ योर वीडियो? दिलीप जी आपका वीडियो आप टर्न ऑफ करेंगे? दिलीप जी कैन यू हेयर मी? दिलीप जी आप वीडियो अभी टर्न ऑफ कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि वीडियो ऑन रखने की अभी ज़रूरत नहीं है। Anyway, okay. Then I have mentioned this one work, okay, which is Howl and Other Poems, which is considered the representative work of beat poets. अगर एक work है, एक poetry collection है जो the moment we mention the beat generation, that the work comes to our mind, that is Howl and Other Poems, ठीक है, which was written by Allen Ginsberg. एंड ये वर्क, इसके बारे में आज हम थोड़ा पढ़ेंगे क्योंकि इसमें से क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, ठीक है। तो आई एम गोइंग टू वॉक यू थ्रू द टेक्स्ट ऑफ दिस पोएम एज वेल, बट आप अभी फॉर द टाइम बीइंग जस्ट रिमेंबर कि दिस वर्क, द रिप्रेजेंटेटिव वर्क ऑफ गिन्सबर्ग, हाउल एंड अदर पोएम्स, एंड व्हेन वाज इट पब्लिश्ड? इट वाज पब्लिश्ड इन 1956। ये ईयर आपको याद रखना है, 1956, इसको आप लिख लीजिए, please write it down. Howl and Other Poems, they were published in 1956 by Ferlinghetti's Press City Lights. Okay, Ferlinghetti, he has Press City Lights Press, okay, and Ferlinghetti published this work. You already know that he was one of the beat poets, right? So when Ginsberg wrote Howl, he decided to publish it. But then Howl, he asked him to add some other poems to this collection, and finally he published Howl and Other Poems. Okay, and later, the next year, that is in 1957, he got into trouble with the law for publishing this work, and he was booked for charges of obscenity, that his press was publishing obscene works because his press published Howl and Other Poems. But later what happened is a very landmark judgment was given. The judge, he ruled out that Howl was not an obscene poem, and since then it gained popularity because, see, there was a court case on it, and then the judge said that there is nothing obscene about it. He saw it as an experimental piece, and the interest of the people grew in this work, and it became very popular. In fact, it became one of the defining works of beat generation. ओके, सो आप याद रखेंगे कि एलन गिन्सबर्ग ने लिखी हाउल एंड अदर पोएम्स, ठीक है। ये पब्लिश हुई 1956 में। किसने पब्लिश की? फर्लिनगेटी की प्रेस, सिटी लाइट प्रेस ने, ठीक है। और क्यों, क्या हुआ उसके बाद? 1957 में इट वाज फर्लिनगेटी वाज बुक्ड फॉर पब्लिशिंग ऑब्सीन वर्क। और इस पूरे ट्रायल के बारे में जो इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ ये रही कि द जज रूल्ड आउट दैट हाउल वाज एन ऑब्सीन पोएम, एंड फाइनली it reached public and public really admired it. It was also performed at many public events, right? So this is how the popularity of Howl kept growing, and it was read for the first time ever. I repeat, it was read for the first time ever at 6 Gallery Poet reading in 1955. एलन गिन्सबर्ग ने इसको लिखना शुरू किया था 1954-1955 में, और जब उनने लिख ली थी तो सबसे 6 गैलरी पोइट्री रीडिंग में इसको पढ़ा गया था, ठीक है, फर्स्ट टाइम एवर। उसके बाद तो जब ये पॉपुलर हो गई, पब्लिश हो गई 1956 में, उसके बाद तो इट वाज रेड इन मैनी पब्लिक रीडिंग्स, बट इट वाज रेड फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम एवर। कहाँ पर? 6 गैलरी पोइट्री इन 1955, ठीक है। क्लियर है? आपको याद रहेगा?
यस मैम।
ठीक है। उसके बाद में मैंने एक और चीज़ यहाँ पर ऐड कर ली है, क्योंकि फर्लिनगेटी जो है ही इज़ ऑल्सो अ बीट पोएट, ठीक है। एंड आप इनका एक बुक स्टोर है सिटी लाइट्स करके, ठीक है। इनकी सिटी लाइट्स थी, इनकी प्रेस थी, इनकी एक बुक स्टोर भी है विच इज़ ऑल्सो नेम्ड सिटी लाइट्स, ठीक है, जो कहाँ पर है? सैन फ्रांसिस्को में है। एंड इट इज़ अ लैंडमार्क ऑफ बीट जनरेशन, एंड इट इज़ स्टिल ऑपरेशनल, ठीक है। तो ये भी इसलिए याद रख लीजिए कि नेट में कहाँ से क्वेश्चन आते हैं, यू कैन नॉट पुट योर फिंगर एंड से कि यही आएगा, ठीक है। तो इसलिए मैंने भी ये इन्फॉर्मेशन भी आप लोगों के लिए इंक्लूड कर लिया। तो अब आपके दिमाग में, अगर हम एलन गिन्सबर्ग, आपके दिमाग में थोड़े से बैठ गए कि एलन गिन्सबर्ग एक पॉपुलर बीट पोएट थे, उनका जो सबसे पॉपुलर वर्क है उसका नाम आपको पता चल गया कि हाउल एंड अदर पोएम्स, पूरा कलेक्शन था ये। किसने पब्लिश किया था? आपको पता है कि ये फर्लिनगेटी की प्रेस सिटी लाइट्स ने पब्लिश किया था। कब पब्लिश हुआ था? 1956। आपको पता है कि हाउल जो है इस पोएम के पब्लिशर पे केस चला था ऑब्ससीनिटी का। 1957 में इसको फ्री कर दिया गया था एंड हाउल वाज डिक्लेयर्ड नॉट ऑब्सीन पोएम, ठीक है। और फर्लिनगेटी जो थे वो फ्रेंड भी थे एलन गिन्सबर्ग के, और उनने सिटी लाइट नाम की एक बुक स्टोर भी खोला था, जो कि एक लैंडमार्क है बीट जनरेशन पोएट्स का, ठीक है। और इनने एक और सीरीज़ पब्लिश की थी, पॉकेट पोएट्स सीरीज़। तो अगर कभी ये टर्म आ जाए, मान लेते हैं, अब किस क्वेश्चन के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में आए यू नेवर नो, बट बीट जनरेटर में किसी भी तरीके से क्वेश्चन फ्रेज हो, कहीं ये टर्म आ जाती है पॉकेट पोएट सीरीज़, तो सीधा आप इसको एसोसिएट करेंगे फर्लिनगेटी से, और फर्लिनगेटी से एसोसिएट करेंगे तो आप सीधा इसको कनेक्ट कर लेंगे हाउल से, है ना, और हाउल से कनेक्ट करेंगे तो एलन गिन्सबर्ग से। तो इस तरीके से हम लोगों को इन्फॉर्मेशन लेनी होती है, नॉलेज कलेक्ट करनी होती है। पर एग्ज़ाम में व्हाट रियली is going to work for is how you synthesize that information, how you associate that information to negate the wrong options and pick the right option. ठीक है, समझ आ रहा है आपको?
यस मैम।
नेक्स्ट है ये एक फ्रेज़ है, ठीक है, क्योंकि बीट जनरेशन के बारे में हम पढ़ रहे हैं, तो एक फ्रेज़ है जो आपको सुनने को मिलेगा, बीटनिक। What does it mean? It means being totally bum, being totally stupid, being totally cool, not giving a damn. This is what this phrase came to mean. ठीक है, इसलिए मैंने ये इंक्लूड कर लिया है। अब ये एक क्वेश्चन है जो सीधा मैंने लिया है UGC नेट के क्वेश्चन पेपर से। We have had enough discussion. अब आप मुझे बताएंगे कि राइट ऑप्शन क्या है।
मैम थर्ड वन।
अच्छा, सिर्फ एक ही आंसर मिला है मुझे। व्हाट अबाउट अदर्स?
यस मैम, थर्ड मैम, थर्ड।
यस मैम, थर्ड वन।
ठीक है,
रॉबर्ट लॉरेंस।
ठीक है। अब आप देखिए, कि जब हमने बीट जनरेशन शुरू किया था तो ये सारे नेम हमारे लिए फ्राइटनिंग थे, ठीक है, सारे नेम हमें एक जैसे ही लग रहे थे। बट अब आपने जब बीट जनरेशन के बारे में थोड़ा पढ़ लिया तो अब आपको पता है, आप फेमिलियर हैं इन नेम के साथ, एलन गिन्सबर्ग, जैक केरोक, विलियम बरो, एंड अब आपको पता है कि रॉबर्ट लोवेल इज़ नॉट अ बीट पोएट। तो इसी तरीके से आज की क्लास के बाद कुछ MCQs अटेम्प्ट करिए, ठीक है, कुछ तो आप देखेंगे कि ज़्यादातर चीज़ें तो आपको पता ही हैं, ठीक है। तो यही मज़ा है पढ़ने का कि आप पढ़ते जाएंगे और आपको क्वेश्चन के आंसर्स आते चले जाएंगे। आई थिंक समवन needs to
Excuse me, ma'am.
mute. Yes,
Ma'am, I think Dileep's sir video Cambo, sorry,
this video is
picture
on,
is
right?
on, and yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. At the time of recording, we will be get disturbed, ma'am.
I understand because I requested him to turn off his video many a times. Dileep ji, please turn off your video. Let me mute him. Okay, good. Okay. Now the next thing, as I told you, now I have covered all the points related to the beat poets. Right now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to talk about howl, because if we are studying beat generation, we cannot leave out howl, right? So there was this poem written by Allen Ginsberg, and Allen Ginsberg, I'm adding some biographical information about Allen Ginsberg as well, because that will help you synthesize information. He came to India in 1962. Please remember this year. In 1962, he traveled to India, where he was introduced to yoga and meditation. जितने भी बीट पोएट्स थे ना, ये दे डिडंट फिट वेल इन द सोसाइटी, राइट? ये एक तरीके से सोसाइटी में मिसफिट थे, बिकॉज दे वर डूइंग एवरीथिंग विच सोसाइटी डिसअप्रूव ऑफ और रेज आईब्रो एट. तो बट इन लोग ने क्या किया, इस बिड में उस आइसोलेशन से डील करने के लिए, ठीक है, उस रिजेक्शन से डील करने के लिए इन्होंने बहुत चीज़ें ट्राई की. उसी में इन्होंने ड्रग एडिक्शन भी, वेरियस सेक्शुअल रिलेशनशिप, they read scriptures as well, they turned towards Eastern philosophy, they read some of them traveled to India as well. Ginsberg was one of those who traveled to India. They tried to find solace, anchor in Buddhism. So when he traveled to India in 1962, he was introduced to yoga and meditation, right? And later he visited monasteries and he committed himself to Buddhism. So this is how they found their peace, right? क्योंकि ये इतने isolated थे, इतने they faced so many rejections कि they felt a certain kind of void and they were looking for that anchor. They were in a sense they were lost in this already lost society. Okay, तो this is how Allen Ginsberg found his peace. तो जब आप थोड़ा पोएट के बारे में जानेंगे ना, मैंने तो अभी पूरा बायोग्राफिकल स्केच इंक्लूड किया नहीं है, करना पॉसिबल भी नहीं है, जितना वास्ट है आपका सिलेबस. बट जब आप किसी पोएट से जुड़ते हैं ना, तब आप उसके वर्क को अप्रिशिएट कर पाते, ठीक है. तो इसलिए मैंने ये इन्फॉर्मेशन आपको यहाँ दे दी है. दूसरा है कि ये मैंने पहले ही बता दिया कि इट इज़ अ रिप्रेजेंटेटिव पोएम ऑफ बीट जनरेशन. I have already told you कि he started writing this in 1954-1955, published हुई 1956 में, और बाद में a footnote was added later. मैं आज इसका टेक्स्ट तो आपको I'll show you the text, ठीक है, बट जो footnote है वो आप खुद से स्टडी करेंगे, ठीक है. At least you will read what is there in the footnote, ठीक है. बट याद रखिएगा कि जब इनिशियली ये पब्लिश्ड हुआ in 1956, no footnote was added. The footnote was actually added later. ओके, एंड गिन्सबर्ग के मेंटोर जो थे, ही वॉज विलियम कार्लोस विलियम्स. ये नाम याद रखना है, ये बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है. हु वॉज गिन्सबर्ग मेंटोर? ही वॉज विलियम कार्लोस विलियम, एंड ही हैज़ ऑल्सो रिटन एन इंट्रोडक्शन टू 1959 एडिशन ऑफ हाउल, ठीक है. ये आप याद रखेंगे that he has written an introduction to the 1959 edition of हाउल और विलियम कार्लोस विलियम ग्रेटली इन्फ्लुएंस गिन्सबर्ग. अगर हम गिन्सबर्ग पे इन्फ्लुएंसेस की बात करें, एक टाइप का क्वेश्चन इंपॉर्टेंट है नेट के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, वो है कि किस पोएट का किस पे क्या इन्फ्लुएंस था. ठीक है, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन माना जाता है, इसलिए आप देखेंगे कि मैं हमेशा आपको बताती हूँ कि किसका किस पे इन्फ्लुएंस था. तो गिन्सबर्ग पे जिन पोएट्स का इन्फ्लुएंस रहा, जिन अमेरिकन पोएट्स का इन्फ्लुएंस रहा, उसमें से उनके मेंटोर तो हैं ही विलियम कार्लोस विलियम्स, दूसरे हैं आपके वॉल्ट विटमैन, ठीक है, और थर्ड है विलियम बरो. ये तीनों नाम आप याद रखेंगे. क्लियर है, मैं रिपीट करूं या याद हो गए?
नो मैम, इट्स क्लियर.
वेरी गुड. रिस्पॉन्स देते रहिए सो दैट कि क्लास में थोड़ा सा एक उस तरीके का टेम्पो बना रहे. ठीक है, अब नेक्स्ट है कि ये किस चीज़ों पे ड्वेल करती है ये पोएम. ठीक है, क्या चीज़ें, क्या थीम्स एक्सप्लोर करती है. ऑब्वियसली इफ़ इट इज़ अ रिप्रेजेंटेटिव पोएम ऑफ बीट जनरेशन, तो आप वैसे भी मुझे कुछ थीम तो गेस करके भी बता देंगे, है या नहीं. तो इट ड्वेल्स ऑन द थीम ऑफ होमोसेक्सुअलिटी है, ड्रग एडिक्शन है, बुद्धिज़्म है, एंड हिज रिवल्जन from what he saw as the materialism and insensitivity of post World War II America. Ginsberg and other beat poets, they found the society very insensitive, right? And it was extremely self-centered and materialistic. तो जो लोग इस नॉर्म से, इस प्रिवेलिंग सोसाइटी की जो चलन है उससे अलग थे, उनको क्या किया जाता था, उनको आउटकास्ट किया जाता था, आइसोलेट किया जाता था, जो है ही हर सोसाइटी का पार्ट होता है. ठीक है, तो ये सारी चीज़ें एक तरीके से जो एंग्विश था एलन गिन्सबर्ग का, जो इन सारे पोइट की अगर एक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है तो वो है कि दे आर वेरी आउटस्पोकन. दिस इज़ द टर्म, दे वर वेरी आउटस्पोकन. ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं है कि दे विल नॉट मिन्स वर्ड्स, ऐसा नहीं है कि दे विल थिंक समथिंग, दे विल फील समथिंग एंड दे विल से समथिंग एल्स. दे वर वेरी आउटस्पोकन. दैट इज़ वाई सोसाइटी डिडंट लाइक देम इनिशियली, राइट, एंड दे गॉट इनटू ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ ट्रबल. सो ये सारी जो थीम्स है वो आपको हाउल में देखने को मिलेंगी. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट है कि दिस पोएम इज़ एन आउटक्राई ऑफ एंग्विश अगेंस्ट ऑल दैट गिन्सबर्ग फेल्ट वॉज अनजस्ट, रिप्रेसिव एंड हार्मफुल टू द इंडिविजुअल इन अमेरिकन सोसाइटी. ठीक है, तो सोसाइटी जो होती है, दिस इज़ हाउ इट ऑपरेट्स. आप इंडियन सोसाइटी को देख लो आज की 21st सेंचुरी में, कितनी सारी चीज़ें हैं, टैबू हैं. ठीक है, try talking about those topics, try questioning those things. ठीक है, what will happen, people will turn completely against you. ठीक है, तो थोड़ा सा रिलेट करके देखिए तो आप अच्छे से क्वेश्चन आंसर कर पाएंगे, अगर एग्जैक्टली वो पॉइंट आपकी स्टडी में नहीं भी आए होंगे तब भी. ठीक है, तो हर चीज़ जो रिग्रेसिव थी, जो अनजस्ट थी, जो हार्मफुल थी, ही वॉज फुल ऑफ एंग्विश अगेंस्ट दोज थिंग्स. तो उसको एक्सप्रेशन कहाँ से मिला? कोई बैठ के नेबर सुनेगा थोड़ा ना ये सारी चीज़ें, कोई फैमिली मेम्बर तो नहीं सुनेगा. तो ही फाउंड एक्सप्रेशन फॉर ऑल दोज थिंग्स इन हिज पोइट्री. सो इसमें कोई डिकोरम, कोई रूल फॉलो नहीं किया है एलन गिन्सबर्ग ने. इट इज़ फुल ऑफ रॉ इमोशंस. ठीक है, तो जो भी कंज्यूमरिज्म है, मैकेनाइजेशन है, कन्फॉर्मिटी है, ठीक है, टैबूज़ हैं, एंड इट इज़ ऑल्सो celebration of the emerging counterculture and an expression of sympathy for its pioneers. Okay, so जो fellow poet, beat poets थे, ये उनके लिए sympathy express करता है. ठीक है, ये उनके लिए, उनको एक तरीके से it is a mouthpiece for the fellow poets who had similar fate, who were facing similar fate in the society. तो इसमें आप ना एक, अभी मैं आपको इसका टेक्स्ट दिखाने वाली हूँ, तो आप देखेंगे कि बार बार एक प्रोनाउन आएगा वी 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 वी. तो वी कौन है उसमें? तो वी आर यू नो दिस द बीट पोएट्स, एलन गिन्सबर्ग एंड हिज फ्रेंड्स, राइट, हु आर बीइंग ट्रीटेड विद इनजस्टिस इन द सोसाइटी. ओके, तो लेट्स लुक एट द टेक्स्ट नाउ. आई हैव कलेक्टेड द टेक्स्ट हेयर and I have highlighted some lines as well for you. Okay, look at this. Now this is Howl by Allen Ginsberg and for Carl Solomon. Sometimes this poem is also called Howl for Carl Solomon. Okay, so who is Carl Solomon? He was another, writer writing in that period, and he was, Allen Ginsberg. He met him. You can call that mental asylum. Okay, he had gone completely insane, and Allen Ginsberg was full of empathy for him. He felt really bad for his fate, and he dedicated this entire poem to him. So this poem, if you are asked in the exam, this is very important. डेडिकेशन बेस्ड क्वेश्चन भी इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं. तो इफ़ यू आर आस्क्ड इन द एग्ज़ाम कि हाउल जो है वो किसको डेडिकेटेड है, तो आप क्या आंसर होगा आपका, कौन सा ऑप्शन सही होगा? इट इज़ डेडिकेटेड टू, कम ऑन, इट इज़ डेडिकेटेड टू
Carl Solomon.
Carl Solomon.
Carl Solomon.
यस यस यस, ठीक है, अब याद रहेगा आपको ये. अब मैंने पहली लाइन यहाँ पर हाईलाइट कर दी है सो दैट इट कैचेस योर अटेंशन. I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked. So what is he saying? He's saying that the best minds of my generation, right, the really creative, authentic people, I have seen them getting destroyed by madness, the materialism, the self-centeredness of American society. Starving, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves through the Negro streets at dawn, looking for an angry fix. Right? अब ये पूरा पोएम तो पढ़ना पॉसिबल नहीं है, इट्स अ वेरी लॉन्ग पोएम. एंड बट यहाँ पर एक चीज़ ध्यान में रख लीजिए, मैंने ये लाइन यहाँ इसलिए हाईलाइट आपको कर दिया, आपको पता होना चाहिए. मैं यहाँ पर एक इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ बता देती हूँ, आप वो अप्लाई करेंगे थ्रू आउट योर स्टडी फॉर योर UGC नेट, कि जब भी कोई पोएम आप स्टडी करेंगे तो एक बार टेक्स्ट को ज़रूर देखेंगे. भले ही वो लंबा टेक्स्ट है, एटलीस्ट आप क्विकली हर एक लाइन को रीड कर लेंगे. और यू विल पे अटेंशन टू द स्टार्टिंग पैराग्राफ, द फर्स्ट स्टैंजा एंड द लास्ट स्टैंजा, और एनी इम्पॉर्टेंट लाइन इन बिटवीन. ठीक है, जब भी कोई पोएम स्टडी करेंगे तो कैसे करेंगे? ठीक है, अगर कोई छोटी पोएम आपको पता ही है पढ़ना ही है टेक्स्ट, नेट में से आपको कभी कभी टेक्स्ट पे से क्वेश्चन आ जाते हैं. लोग स्टूडेंट्स क्या करते हैं, बहुत स्मार्ट हो गए, इतनी सारी कोचिंग क्लासेस हो गई हैं, फटाफट फैक्ट्स पढ़ लेते हैं. तो आपको क्या लगता है कि एग्ज़ाम सेट जो करते हैं वो लोग बेवकूफ़ हैं? नहीं. तो वो क्या करते हैं, वो आपको टेक्स्ट में से क्वेश्चन निकाल देते हैं. टेक्स्ट में अगर किसी पोएट का नाम यूज़ हुआ है, किसी स्ट्रीट का नाम यूज़ हुआ है, कोई टर्म है, ठीक है, वो उसमें से कोई क्वेश्चन बना के पूछ लेंगे. ठीक है, इसलिए ध्यान रखिए. तो ये लाइन आपको याद रहेगी, द मोमेंट यू विल रीड दिस, अगर एग्ज़ाम में आ जाती है, आई सॉ द बेस्ट माइंड्स ऑफ माई जनरेशन डिस्ट्रॉयड बाय मैडनेस, स्टार्विंग, हिस्टैरिकल, नेकेड. तो आपको पता चल जाएगा कौन सी पोएम में से है और क्या कॉन्टेक्स्ट है. यस और नो?
यस सर.
यहाँ पर मैंने जैज़ यूज़ किया था, ये देख रहे हैं आप, यहाँ पर मेंशन किया है. ठीक है, उसके बाद में यहाँ पर देखिए, Blake light tragedy among the scholars of war, cool eyes hallucinating. ठीक है, ये सारी जो, तो यहाँ पर आपको अगर आप ब्लेक के बारे में जानते हैं तो आपको पता होगा कि द सोसाइटी दैट ब्लेक वॉज लिविंग इन यूज टू फील दैट ब्लेक वॉज अ मैड मैन. ठीक है, ओनली आफ्टर हिज डेथ his work became popular, and the critics and the poets of the next generation, they realized, they saw the value in poetry of Blake, and that he was a genius poet. But in his own age and time, he was considered a madman, right? So by referring to Blake, Allen Ginsberg, he was in a way saying that all these people, all these genius people who are roaming around the street, hysterical, naked, these are genius. They are victims of the society which will not allow free expression. समझ में आ रहा है आप लोग को?
यस मैम.
ठीक है, यस. अभी आप अगर इसकी इमेजरी लाइंस देखिए, ठीक है, किस तरीके के लाइंस हैं, लॉन्ग लाइंस, वेरी लॉन्ग लाइंस. दिस इज़ हाउ वॉल्ट विटमैन ऑल्सो राइट्स. मैंने बताया था वॉल्ट विटमैन का इन्फ्लुएंस है एलन गिन्सबर्ग पे. ठीक है, लुक एट दीज लाइंस. ठीक है, कोई यहाँ पर वो नहीं है, कोई राइमिंग नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है. ठीक है क्या, एक स्ट्रक्चर ज़रूर है, एक मेलोडी ज़रूर है. सी हाउ एवरी लाइन, ईच लाइन स्टार्ट्स विद हु कौन है. All the beat poets, and not only the beat poets, all these creative geniuses which are being repressed by society, all his friends. ठीक है. और अभी हाउल की तो ब्यूटी आप तभी अप्रिशिएट कर सकते हैं जब आप इसको कम से कम 3-4 बार सुने. तो व्हाट आई रेकमेंड इज़ 25 से 26 मिनट की रीडिंग है. एलन गिन्सबर्ग रोट हाउल. ठीक है, यूट्यूब पे अवेलेबल है. 25 मिनट्स आपको अपने टाइम के देने पड़ेंगे सुनने के लिए. तो गो अहेड एंड लिसन टू दैट. डन? ओके,
यस मैम.
ठीक है. और जब सुनेंगे तो किस चीज़ पे फोकस रहेगा? फोकस रहेगा क्या किसी पोएट, किसी हिस्टोरिकल फिगर का रेफरेंस है, किस तरीके की इमेजरी है. ठीक है, उसको ध्यान में रखना है क्योंकि इमेजरी बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस एग्जाम्स में आते हैं. ठीक है, क्या क्या कौन कौन से प्लेसेस मेंशन किया. यहाँ देखिए ब्रुकलिन ब्रिज. ठीक है, लंबी पोएम है. इट इज़ इन 3 पार्ट्स. ठीक है, जैन देखिए, जैन, बुद्धिज़्म, ऑल दीज वर अट्रैक्टिव टू बीट पोएट्स. ठीक है, मैंने बताया था कि दे यूज टू रियली एडमायर अफ्रीकन अमेरिकन पीपल एंड देयर ईज विद द बॉडी, राइट. See, there is a reference to Indian angels, visionary Indian angels. Okay, so they were also influenced by mystic poets जो होते हैं. They turn towards them as well. ये कम्युनिस्ट, दे वर अगेंस्ट कम्युनिस्ट सोसाइटी. ठीक है, ये भी एक बार क्वेश्चन आया था, तो ये साफ साफ ये वर्ड मेंशन किया हुआ है. ही हैज़ जस्ट गिवन अ फ्री अनरिस्ट्रेन्ड आउटलेट टू वट एवर ही फेल्ट. ठीक है, कोई टॉपिक अनटच नहीं छोड़ा, चाहे वो पॉलिटिक्स हो, चाहे वहाँ के उस टाइम के थिंकर्स हों, प्रिवेलिंग सोशल नॉर्म्स हों. ठीक है, एंड एम्पथी जो वो फील करता था अपने फेलो पोएट्स के लिए. दिस इज़ व्हाट ही हैज़ मेंशन. You got to listen to this poem in Allen Ginsberg voice to be able to appreciate it. ठीक है, I'm just scrolling through it so that I can, pick some important phrases for you. Brooklyn Bridge is being mentioned twice here. Did you see? Why Brooklyn Bridge is being mentioned twice? Then I'll give you see, there are curse words, the abuses. Okay, it's like just raw emotions being let loose. होता है जैसे आप अपने फ्रेंड से बात करते हो या कभी बहुत गुस्से में होती हो, बोलते चले, यू डोंट होल्ड बैक एनीथिंग. सो इन हाउल, ठीक है, एलन गिन्सबर्ग डिडंट होल्ड बैक एनीथिंग. तो अब क्या होता है कि हैं तो हम सब लोग ह्यूमन बींग्स, हर किसी के अंदर कुछ ना कुछ ऐसा होता है जो कि रिप्रेस्ड होता है. ठीक है, तो जब आप किसी ऐसे पीस ऑफ वर्क को पढ़ते हो जिसमें कि मतलब एवरीथिंग इज़ बीइंग एक्सप्रेस फ्रीली, तो इट सर्व्स एज अ कैथारसिस फॉर द रीडर एज वेल. दैट इज़ वाई this poem became popular. It is still popular and being read. This Carl is here, Carl Solomon. Okay, see. Ah, Carl, while you are not safe, I am not safe, and now you are really in the total animal soup of time. See, he feels pity for himself and likes of him. He feels that we are not safe. Okay. This was part 1, and this part 1 ends with the absolute heart of the poem of life butchered out of their own bodies, good to eat 1,000 years. ठीक है, with the absolute heart of the poem of life. Poem of life is the life in you, butchered out of their own bodies. Okay, this is what this part 1 ends with. Okay. And then this is again, pure outpouring of emotions. I am a consciousness without a body. Who says these kind of things? I am a consciousness without a body. Where do you find such things? You find such things in spirituality. This is what spiritual people tell you, that we are not body. We are what? We are consciousness. We are soul, pure consciousness, right? So do you see the influence now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, there's a word used, molek.
Yes.
What does it mean?
This is something which I need to read more about, and I'll get back to you, because I did my research on this, but I couldn't get anything which with which I could get across to you with that ease. So right, just give me some time so that I can get back to you with more research on it. All right? Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Then he is writing about visions, omens, hallucination, miracles, ecstasies, gone down the American river, dreams, adoration, illuminations, religion, the whole boatland of sensitive bullshit. Right? And then this is again third in the last one, Carl Solomon, I am with you in Rockland, where you are madder than I am. Okay? Because he feels that, because this is what society tells them, that you people are mad. So he is empathizing with the predicament of Carl Solomon by saying that you are madder than I am, and that is why you are suffering a lot. And you see the rhetoric here, I am with you in Rockland, I am with you in Rockland, I am with you in Rockland. Okay. I am with you in Rockland. In my dreams, you walk, dripping from a sea journey on the highway across America, in tears, to the doors of my cottage in the western night. So he is mentioning how, he get a vision of him in the dreams, how his face is littered with tears, and he's walking to his doorstep. Okay, this brings me to the end of this text. So this is what I chose to cover in today's session, dear aspirants. If you have any question for me, let me know. Do you really feel confident that you will be able to answer questions from beat generation? Have you evolved in your understanding of beat generation with this session? If you have questions, please ask me.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
It was all
All
clear.
clear, ma'am.
All clear, ma'am.
Okay. Anything you would like to add? Any suggestion?
Ma'am, will you be sending this the
PDF.
text?
Exactly. This goes without saying. You're talking about this text that I have.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll send both the PPT as well as this Word document. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Any question? Do you have any question? Do you
No,
have
ma'am,
Do you
the
have any
information is
feedback
all
for
clear.
me? Are you with me? Are you able to understand the way I am explaining?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. So I'll see you in my next lecture. In these days, I am focusing on covering the movements and the trend in American literature. Once we are done with that, we will move on to the writers and the seminal works in American literature. So the more you will study, the more confident you will become. So what you have to do today is you have to watch.
Go through the
Yes,
lecture.
exactly. So this is what you have to do today. And I have also asked you to study 2 important works. Which are those works which I want you to read a little about? Naked Lunch.
And MCQs
On the
about
road.
beat generation.
On the Road by Jack Kerouac.
Ma'am, Naked Lunch and Junkie.
Naked
Yeah.
Lunch and Junkie by whom? By William Sburrow.
William Asper.
Yes, please do
Ma'am,
that.
it's a William
And
Asbrook.
On the Road
Yes.
by Kerouac.
Exactly. Okay, and I'll see
Yeah.
you. I'll see you on Thursday with my next lecture with you. Thank you so much.
In next
Excuse me,
lecture,
ma'am.
what you are going to cover, ma'am? Can you please tell me?
See, I'll one topic that I already have in mind is confessional poetry.
Okay.
Yes, and
That
Excuse
was
me,
also
ma'am.
the trend.
that's a
medical
movement. That's a
literature.
movement. That's a movement. We are studying
Movement.
the movements.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
First the lost generation and the second is breed generation.
Yes.
And third
No,
one.
we studied lost generation. We studied transcendental poet.
Yeah.
Yes. Then today we studied beat
Yes,
poets,
yes.
and now next we'll be studying confessional poets.
Hmm.
And then I'll
Okay.
then I'll start teaching about the prominent authors and works, and then we will look at some more trends and schools which are popular, like in American literature. Okay, let's call it a day now. I'll see you on Thursday. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you, ma'am.
yes. Please tell me. Those who are done, they may leave.
Yes, ma'am.
Please tell me. Please ask me.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, please share your strategy. How can we memorize all these things, all these years and all these things, ma'am?
Okay. See, I'll talk from experience here, Dr. Jagriti. The first thing which comes to my mind when we are talking about committing a lot of facts and dates to memory, that is, first of all, you should have all the facts, all the names at one place. So what I used to do is, let's begin with the year in which a work was published. So what I did is I made a list of all the works that were published. Let's say when was this Mrs. Dalloway published, when was Sons and Lovers published. So I made a list of all the works, right? And then what I would do is I'll find some tricks so that I could associate those years with that particular work. I'll show you. Here I am opening this document and I'll show you. Okay. Can you
Yes,
tell
ma'am.
me which year Wasteland was published?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
I think
1922.
1922.
Exactly. Right. So here's Wasteland. Okay. It was published in 1922. Okay. So I found some trick to remember this. So I associated this with a fact related to the Wasteland. What was that? Who was the poet? T.S. Eliot. Right? But T.S. Eliot was assisted a lot in editing of Wasteland by whom? By Ezra Pound. Otherwise, it would have been unreadably lengthy poem. So Ezra Pound, he gave valuable suggestion, and as a result, T.S. Eliot could edit it. Okay. So what I did is I associated Wasteland with two people, the original writer and someone who helped with editing it. That was Ezra Pound. So that makes it 1 plus 1 2. So I told myself that this Wasteland was published in the year 19, because when it comes to the century, it's not a problem. We know that it is modern piece of work, so it's 19th century. This is 20th century, that will 19. So as far as these last two digits were are concerned, so I remembered 2. So it will be 2 times 2. Okay, and that is why I never forgot the year Wasteland was published in. So I found this trick. I associated something. I found something. It need not be logical. What it need to do is it needs to work for you. Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Then
Yes.
tell me which year Rabindranath Tagore got Nobel Prize.
Ma'am, 1912.
13. Okay, 1913. Okay. So then again, I'll find something so that I could connect this particular digit with some fact, something related to life of Rabindranath Tagore or related to me. Because when you relate these digits with something related to you, then it is easier for you to remember, right? So 13 is Rabindranath Tagore getting Nobel Prize, that was an important event. And an important event in my life will be, birthday of my friend, my best friend. So it the number is 13. So my friend's birthday falls on 13th of September. So I associated this key number in my life with this key event in Rabindranath Tagore. So I never forgot this year. You getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is a strategy that I have evolved for myself, because there is a lot of memorizing to be done, and no matter how many times we revise, there are some dates which skip, which we just are not able to recall, or we mix it up with some other dates or with some other work. So this is how I try to find a trick, a strategy to what I call is associations, random associations. It can be with anything, right? I also use it when I have to remember the chronology of something. I'll tell you, I weave a story around it, right? So this can be done. The only thing is that you need to be creative. Be absurd, be logical, but be creative. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Can you tell me any other date? And let me see if I can find a trick, an association to associate it with. Tell me any work and any date. Come on.
1485.
1485. Okay.
Yeah.
So 85. Now 14 is my date of birth. Okay. And 85 is the year of birth of my husband. So it's pretty simple for me to remember this.
Oh, really, ma'am, it's really creative.
Isn't
We
it?
will also adopt this.
Please do that. Please do that. This is how it works. Otherwise, we will all go crazy remembering all the dates and names, isn't it? And on the top of that, you have to remember the sequence also when it comes to the work written by a particular author. And someone like D.H. Lawrence, okay, who was proliferate writer. So he has written so many works that it is almost impossible for us to remember all the works, all the poems that he has written, all the critical works that he has written. So we will have to evolve some strategies, some associations which work for us and which will help us remember those works in the right sequence. Give me some other date, give me some other work, and I'll tell you. Because if we are touching upon this topic, any work, any year of publication.
1399.
Tell me that work. When we were studying transcendentalism, we took up a work, right? Tell me what was the name of that work?
Ma'am,
I hope you are revising your notes.
actually, ma'am, I'm doing the same.
Please do that.
But ma'am, I have
next
not
time.
mentioned anything
Hmm.
for this particular year.
Hmm.
It would be better if you tell me.
Tell me, what is the date? 13? Which year was it?
99.
1399. Okay. Now 1399, but you haven't mentioned any event, Rika? Any particular event which you have in your mind? Because either you associate with something from your life,
Yeah.
an important event. It can be any important event in history of India as well. It can be an important cricketing event, anything related to soccer,
Yes, ma'am.
movies, anything. But use these random associations. Okay. So
Yes, ma'am.
for me, let me see. See, it won't be very difficult for me to remember this, because what I can simply do is,
Yes, ma'am.
yes,
Let me tell.
huh,
Ma'am, in British literature,
hmm,
in Middle English literature,
hmm,
in 1399, King Henry IV
hmm,
adopted the English
hmm.
original language as his mother tongue.
Okay. Okay. Right? There were so many Henry that you need to evolve a trick to remember which Henry are you talking about, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. See, but it's really fun to work with these tricks, right? So what I can do here for you is that, let's say English. Hmm. Um, let's say 99 and 13. See, I would think of it in this manner, that 13 is considered inauspicious in our culture, isn't it? 13, such numbers, 13, 17. So I would say inauspicious. And then if a batsman is out at 99, just one run short of century, that is also considered inauspicious. So I would say the year Henry IV adopted English as mother tongue, that was double inauspicious. Okay, 13, the inauspicious number, and 99, inauspicious for being short of century. What do you say?
Yes, ma'am, but how we can say this is auspicious number, because in our culture every odd number can be auspicious.
13 is considered inauspicious, right? आपने देखा कि लोग बोलते हैं 13 को let's not do it on 13, let's not do it on 13, है ना? I
Oh, yes, ma'am.
yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
अब ठीक है, तो 13
Ma'am,
inauspicious उस
it's
सेंस में माना जाता
auspicious
है. हाँ
in the other term,
हाँ हाँ
like Teravi.
हाँ नहीं तो वो
Yeah,
तो
I can
इट्स
relate
अप
with
टू
that.
यू नाउ ना, इट्स अप टू यू कि आप क्या चीज़ को लेते हैं. अब जैसे कि 3 को नहीं माना
Yes,
जाता
ma'am.
शुभ,
I
13
got
को नहीं
it.
माना जाता. तो व्हाट ट्रिक आई यूज़ की, जो ईयर था जिसमें कि अडॉप्ट किया गया इंग्लिश एज अ मदर टंग, उसमें 2 इनऑस्पिशियस था. एक तो 13 वाला, और एक कौन सा, कि कितना डिसअपॉइंटिंग होता है जब सेंचुरी से सिर्फ एक नंबर, एक रन कम पे आप आउट हो जाओ 1999 पे. तो 2 ऐसे एसोसिएशन किए
It is
साथ.
considerable.
बस कुछ भी इस यहाँ पर कोई आपके रूल्स नहीं है. यू डोंट हैव टू प्ले बाय रूल्स हियर. यू कैन बी एज इलॉजिकल एज पॉसिबल. द ओनली थिंग इज दैट बी यू नो हैव सम फन, बी क्रिएटिव व्हेन यू आर कमिंग आउट विद सच ट्रिक्स, एंड इट विल वर्क फॉर यू. ये करना ही पड़ेगा,
ma'am.
वरना याद नहीं होगा. ठीक है.
Ma'am, can you suggest any trick to keep memorizing the names of Henrys?
Memorizing, I never tried it, because let's do one thing. uh-huh. Let's do one thing. See, why would we just memorize Henry 1, Henry 2, Henry 3, Henry 4? There needs to be a context in which we are studying their names, or there needs to be an event or a particular thing in relation to which we are remembering their
Ma'am.
names. Yes, Vimal, please tell me.
Ma'am, let me keep one example. As we know, son of King John, Henry III. The
Hen-
main event was happened
Henry
in
III,
his, in
Henry
his
III,
era, in
right?
his region.
Henry III, son of.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
No, ma'am. Henry III.
You just.
Parliament was headed, and Parliament has got more rights to speak and to keep effect on the king. Indirect means Parliament
became more powerful.
has more routes, more powerful at the time of Henry III.
Okay.
So how we
Yes.
can
Yes. So
correlate
you
this
have to
with Henry
remember
IV?
it now, because it's an important historical thing that Parliament became more powerful in his reign. Okay. And you want to remember which Henry it was. Okay. Agree.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we will just use our brains and we'll be a bit creative and we'll find out something, no matter how illogical or absurd it sounds. So let's say 3. Okay. And okay. 3. थोड़ा सा सोचना पड़ेगा, सोचना पड़ता है
Yeah,
ये
of course,
ट्रिक्स.
ma'am.
हाँ, थोड़ा सोचना पड़ता है ये ट्रिक्स इवॉल्व करने के लिए, बट कर लेते हैं. अब कुछ तो मैं ऐसे ट्रिक्स सोचती हूँ कि दैट आई कांट इवन शेयर विद हिम.
Yeah.
यस. Not in the sense that I don't want to share, because they are so illogical, so absurd,
Yeah.
that
Yes, ma'am.
others will not be able to make sense of that ना. ठीक है, ये है 3. ओके, ठीक है, इजी. देखो, हमारे हिंदू धर्म में क्या क्या कितने हैं? हमारे 3 मेजर लॉर्ड्स कौन हैं? ब्रह्मा, विष्णु, महेश,
विष्णु, महेश.
ट्रिनिटी. ठीक है.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ,
I got it.
हाँ, और पार्लियामेंट भी जो है क्या है? इट्स पार, है ना?
Yes.
यस, तो बस सीधा ट्रिनिटी से पार्लियामेंट को जोड़ दो.
The main body and main structure of any country.
एग्जैक्टली, मेन,
You can
हाँ,
correlate
मेन
with this.
गवर्निंग स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ एनी कंट्री इज
I got it.
पार्लियामेंट. और हमारे वैसे यूनिवर्स को रूल करना कौन है? हमारे ट्रिनिटी, ब्रह्मा, विष्णु, महेश. बस
Yes,
you will
ma'am.
remember,
Really, it's a very useful.
isn't it?
And I'm sure I would never forget now this term.
I will also not forget that. So I was just
Yes.
telling you that how I did it. Okay. See, in a way, be like as creative as Beats were. No, we are studying Beat generation, so we can at least be creative like them. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope it made
Thank
sense
you.
to others as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so this is how you can do. You can evolve such tricks for anything, for names, for years, any fact you are trying to remember. So what we will do is in one of our classes we will take up years, we will take up authors, and we will come up with these tricks, and everyone will be invited to participate and evolve the tricks. We will do it together. What do you say? We can do it?
Yes,
Of
ma'am.
course,
Sure.
ma'am.
All right,
Yes, ma'am.
all
It would
right.
be very helpful.
Yes, yes. Okay, let's call it a day. I'll see you on Thursday. Good evening.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Most
Okay,
welcome.
bye.
Most
Thank you,
welcome.
ma'am.
Most welcome.